Greetings, my friends. Welcome to Werewolf Wednesday show. I am Seth from the Horror Syndicate. Getting off to a late start because somehow I turned off the auto rotate on my phone and I couldn't figure it out because I'm a dumbass. So originally tonight, Ray and I were going to be talking. We were going to be talking about the Hammer film, Curse of the Werewolf, but something came up and he couldn't join. So tonight, instead, I'm going to talk about two newer werewolf films that I just watched recently, Operation Blood Hunt and The Forest Hills. And I'm also going to kind of give my brief thoughts on the trailers that came out for the new Frank Grillo movie Werewolves and the second trailer for Wolfman. So thank you for joining me. And again, sorry I'm off to a late start. Um, I'm just a dumbass. So, as normal, I'm going to. I'll start off with catching up with a couple of comments that came in, and then I'll get right into the topic. I may cut this a little short tonight, um, only because I've been having major issues with my back, and that pain has extended to my leg and so sitting has been a little rough for me for the last couple of days. So uh, starting off with Sean Sheridan, our friend from across the pond, he says never heard of any Tubi check. Yeah, I rented both of these. I don't think they're on Tubi yet. I was just actually browsing werewolf movies on Tubi. I don't recall seeing either of these on there. I could be wrong, but I rented both of them. Uh, they weren't very expensive to rent, a couple dollars here and there. So, um, give them a watch if anything I have to say appeals to you. um, Scott Walker says, "Hello, Seth. How are you doing today? Um, doing well. How are you? Spring day here in Melbourne, Australia. I cannot wait for Halloween next week and watch horror movies and hopefully some werewolf movies. Beware the moon. Yeah, it's actually been surprisingly nice here. Uh, here uh, in Vermont. Typically, it's very cold around this time of year, but the last couple of days have been in the 70s, which has been surprising. Um, but yeah, and I can't believe we're almost at the end of October already. That's nuts. Sean Sheridan says the Beast Within is that the werewolf movie you rated highly. No, no, not at all. Uh, the Beast Within, I did not like that one at all. The one I rated highly is called Blackout. Um, it's like one of those hit or miss movies with a lot of people. I know as far as like some of us from the horse and get Nathan liked it, but Ray did not, and it's a hit or miss with a lot of people. I seem to be in like the minority of people who love Blackout, but that one is on Tubi. That one is on Tubi. Blackout. Um, he says I asked because it's on Paramount Plus and was thinking of checking out. I'm not gonna say don't check it out because your opinion may be different from mine. I found the Beast Within the new one, not to be confused with the '80s movie with that same title, which they're not related, by the way. The Beast Within from this year, I thought was very slow and boring, and like I have no problem with slow burn films, but at least have a point. And yeah, there's just a lot I did not like about that film at all. But if you have access to it and you want to check it out, and I mean, there's tons of times where you've disagreed with me and so on and so forth. So give it a shot, and maybe you do like it. I don't know. Scott says, "Do you think the Werewolf on Fever Swamp, the Goosebumps episode, is scary or not? I reckon it's sort of the scariest episode in the Goosebumps series. I wish they did a part two. So I have not watched Goosebumps in a very long time. Um, Probably since they first aired on Fox way back in the day. Uh, but yeah, I don't remember. Um, Trekopedia, how you doing, man? Says hopefully the Wolfman does well. I hope so too. Kathy says hello. Hello, Kathy. Scott says I saw the design of the werewolf in the new Wolfman movie. The creature looks very similar to the ginger snaps. The word in the original Wolfman. Yeah. Um, Actually, I do have saved on here when I do get to the Wolfman. Someone did get a still from the trailer and kind of like zoomed in on it to see a little bit more of the design. Sean says, "What's up, Seth? I did my homework for this week, but you changed topics, you bastard." Yeah, originally Ray and I were gonna do Curse of the Werewolf, um, but he couldn't make it tonight, so I just decided to talk about the two new films that I watched instead. Which I was going to do this topic last week, but last week I couldn't do the show. So yeah, it's a little mixed up here. Never said we were professional. Chuck Beer says Fox censored the heck out of the Goosebumps show. I bet. Chuck Beer says doing well, man. How are you doing tonight? Pretty well. Besides some, I've been having a lot of issues with my back, and it's been causing pain, especially when I sit down to my leg, my right leg. So besides being a little bit of pain, um, doing all right. Thank you for asking. And Sean says, "Okay, watch Blackout. I have a feeling I saw that, but I'm sure that was another movie. Was Blackout the one where the town gathers to hunt him down?" Uh, no, no. I think there's another werewolf movie called Blackout. There's actually a couple of different movies called Blackout, which makes it a little difficult. I wish. Part of me wishes Larry Fessenden called it something else, but like I understand because of his film being sort of like an allegory for alcoholism. Um, it makes sense why his film is called Blackout. But yeah. Oh, do I got it here? Oh yes, I do. Um, if you go on Tubi, you'll see this is the image that should be there. So this is the one to check out. Again, it's not. It's a hit or miss movie for a lot of people. So um, I've been saying for a while, as much as I do love it, you may not. So don't let me hype it up. It's a slow burn, by the way. Blackout is a slow burn. Very story and character oriented. A lot of complaints are that it's dull, that it's uninteresting, but I found it interesting. Tractor P says, "Hope you feel better soon. I know what that's like with the back sometimes." Yeah, it's I'm in my 40s now. I'm gonna get myself a hover round, maybe a jitterbug phone, start planning my retirement. Trekopedia says, "Very welcome anytime." Uh, yeah, I believe that's what it is. I just got to get my stubborn ass to the doctors to confirm, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm fairly certain that's what it is. I was gonna I was gonna go to the doctor today, but then I decided not to because I don't like going to the doctors and I'm kind of lazy sometimes. And I didn't want to miss work. Chuck Media says, "I know what you mean about similar titles. I think them calling their new movie The Beast Within hurt their movie since a lot of people have love for the '80s movie and a sequel. Yeah, I do remember seeing something like some sort of uh, promotion for it, maybe Bloody Disgusting or something like that. And wow, the comments, people were confused because they thought it was like a remake of the '80s film, and it's not. They're not related. Um, but yeah. Kathy says I have back issues in my lower back and have to be careful how I move. Yeah, I could just like I could like just like move slightly, like just a hair to the left, in my chair, and all of a sudden I'll throw out my back. That's the way it's been for me for a while. Um, yeah, and then like lately, because of this that's been going on, I've been trying to limit myself about how much I've been sitting. So I made sure that when I was at work, I stood all day for the inside job that I had to do. My job, is like partially inside, just putting stuff in the system, and then partially, outside, and and all that. But um, let's see. By the way, I think the new Blade movie is pretty much canned. They pulled it from the schedule into yeah. It's been a disaster. Been a disaster. Sean says, Kathy, the worst is when you rest your back and that nerve flares up. It's agony. Oh, I know all about that too. It's not fun, and sitting is the worst. It is. It's the first time I've sat down all day long, and I'm already feeling it. um, Scott says if they did a Ginger Snaps 4 or a sequel or a TV series, what would it look like with today's audience? Do you think people today will like it, or do you think people from the past will hate it? It depends on how they do it and what the story is. I kind of feel like Ginger Snaps, that ship has sailed as far as doing another one. Honestly, I don't think the third film's bad, but I feel like it was a mistake not to follow up Ginger Snaps 2 Unleashed. Um, but um, I stand at the movie theater I work at all day, so my girlfriend is always like, sit down wherever I go to her house. Yeah. All right, so I'm partially caught up with comments now. I do want to get into the subjects at hand. So, without further ado, I am going to start talking. Um, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just talk about both of these movies back to back, and then I'll get back into the comments, and then I'll talk about the trailers for Werewolves and the Wolfman. Um, so, and I'm going to be talking about these in the order that I've seen them. Uh, so I'm starting off with Operation Blood Hunt. Uh, okay. So this movie was okay. I'm gonna read off some names, and I guarantee you, I'm gonna butcher names like I always do. Okay. So it was written by Brandon Slagle, and it was directed by uh, Louis Mandylor, who is the brother of Costas Mandylor, who played Hoffman in the Saw franchise, which I thought was a pretty cool thing. I didn't know he had a brother who was a filmmaker. Um, it stars. I'm not going to read off every name of, but the main two, um, the bigger names in this are Quentin Rampage Jackson and Jonathan Rhys Meyers. Now, the story of this one follows. It's set in 1944, and the main character is the Reverend, played by Rampage Jackson, who specializes in the occult, and he is asked by a couple of military people to join this ragtag group of um, soldiers on a mission to an island. I can't remember what the specific um, request was, but because of his speciality in the supernatural, he is requested. So he joins this group. It's a diverse group of people with different skills and all that. It's very kind of Suicide Squadish to a certain extent. To a certain extent, um, but when they get there, they find that their mission is not quite what it seems, and to make matters worse, they are attacked by a pack of werewolves. The story is paper thin. Okay, the story is paper thin. The film itself is, mindless, shut your brain off at the door, eat some popcorn, have fun type of movie. And that's the way I look at it. I think that this film is not good on a technical level, especially from story perspective, but I thought it was a decent. I think it's only 90 minutes. It was a decent watch. Um, I had fun with it. I've seen a lot of bad werewolf movies this year alone, um, and there's been very few and far between good ones. Before this one, the only werewolf movie of 2024 that I liked was Blackout. But I did enjoy this one. It's flawed, but it's fun, in my opinion. Um, Now, I think that the I think it's competently made. Of as far as being directed, I think the action scenes are well shot and choreographed. There's one particular moment early on in the film with a werewolf that I really liked the way that it was done. The werewolves themselves, I think, for the most part, look really good. I like the design. Now, I say for the most part because there's a couple of moments in the film where, with the way that they're just maybe a little overlit, so like you can really tell as a costume, practical. Gotta love practical, right? Um, but there's a couple moments in the film where they are overly lit, and it kind of takes away from it. But I think the designs are really, really good. I think they're handled very well. They are savage. I love the way that they move. Um, they are just they're what werewolves should be. They're vicious creatures, and I think they look good, and they were handled very well. Um, the only besides the paper thin story and some dialogue and some acting which weren't great, the only other like really complaint I have about Operation Blood Hunt is that I don't really feel like it should have been set in the. I don't think it should have been set in 1944. Um, because the characters, the way that they look, the way that they talk, the way that they just everything about them is screams modern day. Like there's nothing in the film that convinces me that this film is actually set in the 1940s. And I feel like this could have easily been set in modern day. Like there's a I don't want to. I'm trying to speak without spoiling it, but there's like a certain the certain thing that they find out that they're actually there for, I, which kind of ties to World War II to a certain degree, but it could have just there could have been like this throwaway line, I guess, about oh well, there's this thing that went missing, or or this is something that's from that time period. Let's go get it, that type of thing, instead of it being set in 1944, because I was just not convinced that these were characters from that time period. And there was nothing in the film that really made me think that this was from that time period. It felt more modern day than everything. And every once in a while, I was reminded, oh, yeah, it's supposed to be in the 1940s. But other than that, I felt like Operation Blood Hunt was fun. It was, it's not going to make anyone's top 10 list. Um, or maybe it will. You never know. But I just thought it was fun. It's a popcorn movie. Um, I think the werewolves are just handled very well, and it's kind of rare to see because it's either werewolves are shitty CGI or they just they're a victim of the budget of the filmmakers. So from that perspective, I think Operation Blood Hunt is probably one of the better werewolf movies I've seen over the last couple years. Because it also another thing is it does take itself seriously. There are moments of levity here and there, but it does take itself seriously, especially with the werewolf side. It's not played for laughs or jokes like a Werewolf in England or even like Wolf Hollow or Scream of the Wolf, aka Wolf Manor, which kind of like lean a little too heavy into the jokes and the references. Um, so I did appreciate that, and again, it's practical. Practical uh, werewolves, and they look good. So if if you watch it, don't expect anything great or fantastic. It's not a great script. There's not a lot of great dialogue, or some of the acting is terrible. But I think overall, it's just kind of a turn your brain off, eat some popcorn, and uh, and hopefully you enjoy it. Now, little disclaimer, because I always have to say this, is that because I see so many shitty werewolf films, there is the possibility uh, that my mind is a little skewed. Of so I'm like so easily impressed by something mediocre because I've seen so many shitty ones. So when I come across something like this, I'm like, hey, I actually like it. When if you don't if you don't subject yourself to a lot of shitty werewolf films, you might watch this film and say, yeah, this is a bad film. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there. Okay. Uh, take my suggestion to a certain point, but don't hold me responsible. All right. Um, so anyway, that was my thoughts on Operation Blood Hunt. I'll show the poster one more time. Um, I don't recall how much it was to rent through Amazon Prime, um, but I don't think it was a lot. It was maybe $3.99, $4.99, something like that. If you want, wait. I'm sure in like a month or two it'll be like available to watch on Tubi or something like that, or even cheaper. But out of the werewolf films that I've seen this year, it's one of the better ones, and take it as you will. So, next up, before I get back to comments, I do want to jump into the next one, and it's called The Forest Hills. Now, this is a fascinating one to a certain degree. It's going to be tough to talk about without spoilers, so I may actually, I may, you know, say some kind of spoiler stuff about it, but I won't dive too deep into it. It's just, I just feel like I can't really talk about this spoiler free because um, I went into this completely blind. I didn't see a trailer or anything. This movie has been on my radar since last year. Last year, I wrote a review for uh, the film Wolf Hollow, and then not too long after that went up, I saw something about the Forest Hills, and I actually did like this. I did this article for the horseandit.com, just sort of like giving the basic info of the Forest Hills of what I could find. Um, I think the filmmaker sent some stuff uh, to the horror syndicates, uh, to the horror syndicate, and so Ray got it in general, and so I got some images and stuff, and I shared it. So it's been on my radar. Um, this film is uh, written and directed by Scott Goldberg. Um, it is the last film starring Shelley Duvall, who passed away recently. Um, and it stars Chico Mendez, uh, Edward Furlong, and it also has appearances from Dee Wallace, Phyllis Rose, Stacey Nelkin, and Marianne Hagen. So it's got some names in there. Last four names I listed, they're not in it for very long, small roles, but uh, this is it. Okay, so if you don't want to know anything about this film at all, if you want to, I recommend watching it blind, but if you don't want to know anything about it at all, maybe turn away now and then come back to this. So by the time this video will be up on YouTube. Um, so this is a weird fucking movie, very weird, and this is totally a movie about lycanthropy, um, which is pretty neat. You know, we've had I can't think of a whole lot of werewolf movies that I've seen that have dealt with lycanthropy. The only one that kind of springs to mind is She Wolf of London from the 40s. Um, now, um, it's sort of like it's the werewolf version of Martin to a certain extent. It's not saying that this it takes anything from George Romero's Martin at all, but very kind of similar to that with how it deals with the subject of werewolves, where you have this character. Okay, so let me start from the beginning without getting too much into spoilers. So the movie starts with Shelley Duvall. She's very unhealthy. She's coughing a lot. She finds out that she has cancer. And then we see her son, Rico, played by Chico Mendez, who learns that his mom has cancer, and then he goes to visit her. And at first you think, okay, this is gonna be like that type of tale, and then they start talking to each other, and that's when it gets weird. Just like this is pre titles as well, and all of a sudden you got this guy who's talking to his mother who's dying of cancer, and they're kind of they're running their mouths to each other. They're going back and forth, and I'm like, wow, okay, so this is that type of movie, huh? Um, and then like right before the titles pop up, you have the Rico character saying, "The fuck with me, mama," and so it's weird right off the bat. And so this film, um, it's kind of it's bizarre because it's like it's partially serious, and I think it's very interesting to tackle lycanthropy, but at the same time, it also has this need to have sort of like humor in it, and some of the humor is, I think, is pretty fun. The dialogue, the back and forth between Rico and his mama are made me laugh a couple of times, and then there's a couple more moments throughout the film that made me laugh, um, but it kind of puts it a little bit at odds with the rest of the film, where you have this man who we learn has had not only a very traumatic childhood experience, which I won't spoil, um, but he was put through something terrible as a kid, along with his sister. And he also, later in life, is attacked by this racist man for some reason, and he gets head trauma as well. And with the way things turn out, and this is a little spoilery, but the way things turn out is like there are certain people who have been fucking with him this entire time, even though he's not right in the head anymore, based on what happened to him as a kid and what happened to him as an adult when he got head trauma. And there's these certain people, particularly one character, who that really kind of continued to fuck with him, and while pretending to be his friend, and which ultimately leads to him believing that he's a werewolf. And because of this, he has murdered a lot of people. Um, now, again, this movie is really fucking weird. It's really weird. Um, I think it's it's got like a lot of good stuff happening for it, and but you go on this journey with this one person who's just crazy the entire time, and kudos to Chico Mendez, for just he gives it his all in his performance. He is very crazy, and you feel it. And part of it, makes me think, man, this is a little cruel. But um, you know, I, I I didn't love everything about this film, but there are a lot of things I did like about it. So again, there's like so much more I want to say about it, but I don't really want to dive too much into spoilers. Will everyone love this film? Probably not. Will this film find its audience? Absolutely, I think. Um, I like the concept of exploring lycanthropy. I really do, and he definitely found a way to do it here. And again, there's certain. I think there's at times where there's like conflicting tones, because like there's times where I'm like, okay, this is the humor is kind of funny. There's one moment where someone accidentally gets shot while um, uh, trying to demonstrate a gun to him, to Rico. I thought that was kind of funny. Again, the dialogue between Shelley Duvall's character and Chico Mendez's character, it's kind of funny. It's cruel, but it's funny. Um, but yeah, it's a really weird movie, and it just it just takes you on this really insane journey with someone who's mentally unstable. And I mean, I can't say that it's an awful movie. um i i I enjoyed most of it. It's just, again, there are certain things um that I wasn't too thrilled about. And um you do see werewolves in this film. um I really want to talk about this aspect, but I can't. But anyway, the whole idea is that Rico sees werewolves, and he's led to believe that the only way to defeat him is by becoming one. And that kind of sets everything in a downward spiral. And and it's just I don't know. It's hard to explain this movie without really spoiling it, but I think it's worth giving a shot if you like. Werewolf films. It's unique enough because of the way that it handles the subject. I'm probably not doing this film any favors by what I've been saying, but yeah, it wasn't a bad experience watching it. I was kind of like uh, I was a little hesitant to put it on, because I was just like, I hope this is not going to be like another crappy werewolf film that I've seen this year. But I think it's got enough good ideas in there. And again, the main character, who's credited like third, I think, in the credits for some reason, even though Shelley Duvall and Edward Furlong don't have big, huge roles in it. Uh, but I think Chico Mendez, he goes for crazy and he pulls it off. And yeah, so I guess that's all I'm gonna say about this film. Definitely not the worst I've seen this year. Interesting ideas, just a few things that didn't work for me, but weird movie. And if you watch it, just prepare for a really weird movie. Um, so yeah, that's my comments on that. I'm gonna get back to all the comments that I missed, which let's see. I did miss a lot, so I'm still scrolling. All right. Kathy, going back to the conversation from earlier, says bat spasms. Am surprised I survived. Scott says the ginger snaps werewolf. That would how what animal does it sound? You don't honestly what dog or a wolf. I don't quite follow what you're saying. I thought the howl was pretty good in it, if I remember correctly. Again, it's been a while since I've seen Ginger Snaps, um, but I thought the howl was fine. Sean Sheridan, yes, I have seen Blackout. Same movie. It was okay from memory. Okay. Sean says, Seth and Kathy, I suggest you both look up various stretches and or other alternatives to surgery or medication. I've been doing yoga for a few years and I haven't felt this good in years. I will keep that in mind, buddy. Uh, Sean have been in physical therapy for over 2 years and lots of. Sorry to hear that. No, either on Tubi. Still, I take Werewolf. I find something. God bless Tubi. A lot of crap out there, but a lot of quality too. Yeah, Tubi has an awesome selection. Well, we'll get into it with your next comment. It's the only ad streaming service I will use for the amount of content. Yeah, I mean, the ads are kind of annoying, but take the bad with the good. I think their horror selection in general is freaking impressive. Don't give don't give Jason Blum a werewolf movie you know it'll be bad. Yeah, probably. Kathy says, thank you, Sean. Sean says, you're welcome. Stay strong. Uh, Chuckopedia, my only gripe about horror this year is we are waiting for Trick or Treat Blu ray and 4K. They should have announced it before it was ready, and we're still waiting. Yeah. I have no choice. I have to get back to work. Sean says, The Forest Hills is on my to watch list. Don't spoil it too much. I hope I didn't spoil it too much for you. I did spoil some stuff, and I apologize for that. But I think you'll understand, like when you watch it, it's hard to talk about the movie without kind of diving into some of the spoilers because, um, at least it is for me. Because I think the more spoiler stuff is the more interesting stuff to talk about. Um, Sean says, "I understand, Kathy. I tore my quadricep muscle off the bone. Ooh, that sounds terrible. And I had to have rehab for months just to go back to work. That sounds painful. Happened a long time ago. Good to hear. When I was in rehab, I was sitting at home in my recliner with my daughters, who are both in college now, and we watched horror movies. They knew the golden rule: don't touch Daddy's left leg." Sean says, "Feel better. I don't suffer from back pain, but I have tooth issues that can be a pain." Oh my god, yes, I've had that. Um, I had to have uh, I had to have a tooth removed last year, the year before, and it was painful up until the point where I got it removed. so I know how that is. And I actually remember you've been dealing with that for a while now, because I remember I was looking at your YouTube channel when you had one there, um, and I watched a couple. I watched like your last video that you did, at least at the time. I don't know if you put any more out since then. Where you talking about how you were gonna have to call it quits because of your tooth pain. So, alrighty. So those were my jumbled, sloppy reviews of Operation Blood Hunt and The Forest Hills. Um, I think both are worth checking out at the very least. Not everyone's gonna love either of them, but you never know. You might find something in them that you do like. So they're not overly expensive to rent, or you could just wait a couple months. I'm sure they'll be available to watch um, for free or whatever. But um, yeah, CT, how you doing, man? He says, "Is Ray's favorite werewolf movie actually Silver Bullet? It is mine, and it would be great to not be alone." Yes, it is. His favorite is Silver Bullet, hands down. um, Sean says, "I'll take another torn quad over tooth issues. Good luck, Irish Sean." Yeah, tooth pain, man. I don't miss it. Um, Sean, I slept in a recliner for months because I couldn't get in my bed. That sounds terrible. Sean said, Irish Sean says, my YouTube channel, that was a while ago. To be honest, that was a reason, but it was not for me. Sometimes it helps, Kathy. Yeah, so give those a shot. Now, caught up in comments. So before I go for the night, I do want to talk about the two new trailers that have come out that have gotten this werewolf fan right here excited. Um, and I am going to start off with Werewolves, starring Frank Grillo. This movie looks fucking badass. Now, if you have not seen the trailer for this, I suggest you go watch the trailer for it. I love the concept behind it, like the whole idea where like uh, a year ago, Supermoon turned millions into werewolves, and now a year later it's going to happen again. Uh, Side note: the original title for this movie was called Year Two, which I think would have been a better title. I think calling it werewolves is very generic, but this trailer impressed the hell out of me. There's some CGI with the transformations, and it's noticeable CGI, but the werewolves themselves are practical. They look really good. I like the concept of this. I know some people are calling it, the purge werewolves. I don't really see it so much like that. It's just people preparing for another event that was beyond their control from the previous year. Of course, it's got Frank Grillo in it, so there's that sort of connection. Um, I will say I do not care for the line in the trailer where he says, "Hey, bite me." That was not, in my opinion, a very good line. I wish there was a little bit more of a clever line, like for example in Dog Soldiers when Spoon faces a werewolf at the end, and he right before he gets killed, he says, "I hope I give you the shits." That's a great line. But saying, "Hey, bite me," that was a terrible line. But I think Werewolves for 2024 looks really good. Can't wait for December to see it. Um, and I really hope it comes to a theater near here. Lately, the local theater hasn't been getting too many horror films, at least anything, yeah, anything decent. But I really hope it comes to the theater around here, or else I'm going to have to um, take a mall trip take an hour drive in December, which depending on the weather, I don't know if I want to do, but I can't wait to see that movie, and I hope to see it on the big screen. Have you seen the trailer? What do you think of it? Um, Kathy says, "I love the Howlin'. One of my favorites." Yeah, I love the Howlin' as well. What is that, Seth? It's a movie called Werewolves. Uh, look up after the show. You're not allowed to leave right now. But after the show, uh, go to YouTube and check out the trailer. Um, I'd show it here, but I can't. But it looks super fun. It's good. It's a high concept movie, and it's gonna be really cool. Jolene says, "I'm really excited about werewolves." Me too. Me too. Can't wait to see that. That poster alone looks badass. Oh, I know. It's a poster I want to get. Irish Sean says that poster looks like werewolf porn. Good. Yes. Jolene says, "I agree. Year two sounds better." Yeah, it's just like what was it? Not last year, but the year before. There was a movie that came out called The Cursed, and I hated that they changed the title to The Curse. The original title for that film was Eight for Silver, which I thought was a lot better of a title. Like it kind of annoys me when like certain films like they change the title to something super generic just so they can like be like, hey, look, it's got werewolves in it, and it's like trust the audience. Um, please, god damn it, trust the audience. My girls and I are planning on Nosferatu. They owe me. I had to take them to see Pitch Perfect 2. Ooh, Nosferatu looks really good. I'm looking forward to that one as well. Um, and the next one I'm going to talk about is the trailer for uh, where did I put it? It's the second trailer for the Wolfman. And this is a new poster, the second poster. If you recall my thoughts when I did a episode a while back, not too far back. The original poster they put out, I understood what they were going for. Didn't really care for it. Uh, the original trailer, it looked okay. So, what about this new one? Um, the new trailer definitely gives context to the story that's happening. Um, and I think it looks okay. I think it looks pretty good. It's I knew going into this film it was not going to be the Larry Talbot story. I mentioned that before. It's just not, and I knew at the moment that Lee Winnell got attached to do it, um, based on what he did with Invisible Man. Um, Now, I think it looks like a good horror film. Looks like a good sort of like small scale horror film. I think there's interesting elements in the trailer too. Like the one scene where um, the wife is trying to talk to him, and it gets from like his perspective, and like there's like this weird light in that lets you know that it's like in his world, and he doesn't understand what she's saying. I really like that aspect of it. I think it looks like it's gonna be well shot. Looks like we're gonna have that new thing that Lee Winnell loves to do now, where someone has fallen and the camera kind of follows with them. He did it in Upgrade. He did it in The Invisible Man. Looks like he's doing that here. Yeah, so I think the film looks pretty good. Um, I'm not counting on anything faithful to the original 1941 The Wolfman or the 2010 The Wolfman. It's Wolfman in name only. Now, I do have saved here, and I'm going to show it in a second. Uh, Someone took a still from the trailer and sort of zoomed on it. Um, uh, this is the Wolfman. It's not quite as awful as that Halloween Horror Nights display, but I don't overly love this. I don't really overly love this look. We'll see when the film comes out. We'll see when we see the werewolves in action. There's obviously going to be two werewolves in the film. That's that's a given. There's uh, there's the werewolf that affects this new character Blake, and then there's going to be Blake who himself turns into a werewolf. So we'll see how it looks on film. Um, I just hope it's a halfway decent movie. I love the idea. I like as much as like I don't like that design. I gotta admit, I'm so freaking happy that it's straight horror. Because I was looking for a long time where Universal really wanted to compete with Marvel and do PG-13 films where they're the monsters are anti-heroes or whatever, and instead of tragic figures like uh, Lawrence Talbot was a tragic figure. He was a good man who something bad happened to him, and then his conscience couldn't handle it. Um, so, I'm glad it's straight horror. It's not this PG-13 action film, which is I guarantee you, if the Tom Cruise Mummy movie had been a success, uh, and the Dark Universe took off, if they did a Wolfman film, it would have been an action film. So I'm grateful that the Dark Universe failed. I don't hate the Mummy from 2017; it's just dull. But we kind of lucked out. Um, so I'm very happy with the way that the Wolfman looks. It's got a very dark horror vibe to it. I think it's going to be intense. So I'm going to be positive about it until the film comes out. And if it's a film that I don't like, I'm going to say I don't like it. But, you know, that's the way it happens. Um, American Sean says, "What films are you all finishing spooky season with?" Uh, I've been trying to catch up with 2024 horror films because at the end of usually at the beginning of every new year, myself, Ray, Nate, and sometimes Jared. He's been a little busy. Uh, we put together our list of our top list of the previous year. So I'm gonna keep going with that. I haven't watched a single Halloween film. I have not watched a single Halloween film. So by the end of the month, I am gonna watch John Carpenter's Halloween and Halloween 3: Season of the Witch because I fucking love that film. Um, I'll probably maybe watch Night of the Demons. Uh, and then just I'll probably throw in some random. See, here's the thing: is like I don't see. I'm a horror fan, like all you. Uh, we watch horror films like all year round, right? So I don't really feel compelled to dedicate all of October just to horror. So I do watch other stuff in between, and you know, I'm big on superheroes and action films and stuff like that. So I do horror, but I sprinkle in other things too. Um, so yeah. Oh, I just saw last weekend at the drive-in that I work at. We played a double feature of Smile 2 and Terrifier 3, and I got out early enough Friday night that I was able to go out and watch both of them. So here's my thoughts on those real quick. Not a big fan of Smile, the first one. I thought it was super generic, super derivative of other stuff like The Ring and It Follows. I thought Smile 2 was a little bit better than the first one. I like the ending of it. I will say that. Um, but yeah, so Smile 2 was okay. Terrifier 3 was something else. I enjoyed it, but at the same time, I'm starting to like. I'm glad that they took the complaints about the first one having like no story, no real protagonist, and for part two they started being having a little bit more to do story and super likable protagonist with the Sienna character. But as it gets deeper into its own lore, and as it becomes a little bit more outlandish with its violence, I have to say I'm starting to kind of miss the simplicity of the first one. But I'll save my complete thoughts. I'm hoping at some point Ray and myself, maybe even Nate, will join us to do to do a show on the three Terrifier films. But I just want to throw that out there. That I did catch those. So is Truckopedia slated for December so they could get it distance between it and Renfield since Nickel. Yeah, probably. Kathy says I'm watching Alvaro, Friday 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Saw, Classic Horror. Yeah, those are all good ones. I really need a good werewolf film. Have you seen Big Bad Wolf? It's from like 2006. Um, I like that one. Uh, of course, there's the usual American Wolf in London, Howlin', Silver Bullet. Um, Ginger Snaps, Dog Soldiers. Oh, Howl from 2015. That's a pretty good one. I think it's 2015. It was like 2014 or 2015. Um, Takes place on a train. That's a really good one. Late Phases. Um, I feel like I'm missing some stuff. Oh, Bad Moon. Bad Moon's a great one to watch. Uh, if you have access to YouTube, you can find Werewolf the series on there. The whole series, there's like, I don't know, 26 episodes, I think. Um, Good show. Sean says I'm doing Bride of Frankenstein, The Thing, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, American from London, Friday 13th 4, Nightmare on Street 3, and of course, you have to watch Halloween on Halloween. Yes, the big ones that I definitely want to do, and I've been like in the mood to do them, is the classic Universal monsters. Like those are always like October watches for me for sure. Um, Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, The Wolf Man. Oh, Son of Frankenstein is really good too. Like that one's like underrated. I think Son of Frankenstein gets overshadowed because of how good the first two are, but Son of Frankenstein is fantastic. But I love watching Universal in the fall. Sean says good choices, Kathy. I agree. Chuck Peters says, well, also Dracula Untold was the launching point originally, but the crews made them change their mind, saying his movie was better. Sad because Untold made a ton of money. I actually like Dracula Untold. Um, I thought it was a fine movie. Um, Maybe a little more action oriented than I would have preferred, but yeah, I like Dracula Untold. I'm going to watch Trick or Treat. That's a good one. whenever Halloween's over, the next day I'm kind of bummed out. Yeah, only because like I know what's next, which is winter. You know, I look forward to Thanksgiving because I like food, but uh, then comes Christmas, and it's just especially when you got kids, it gets a little expensive. Um, I like to spoil people, so even though my girlfriend tells me, don't spend too much, I usually do anyway because um, I listen very, very well. Kathy says, "Thank you, Sean. I love your choice as well." Kathy says, "Didn't like Smile either." Yeah, the not for me. I'm glad people like him, um, but like the first one, I bought blind. I heard a lot of things from a lot of my friends in horror. Um, I get why they like it, I guess, but like I was just like a lot of the stuff I've seen before, and it was just not a very interesting movie. So it's collecting dust on my shelf. And I didn't plan on seeing Smile 2, but I was planning on seeing Terrifier 3, and I thought that by the time I got out of work Friday, that I would have time to just see Terrifier 3, um, because it was the second feature, but it was really kind of slow at the drive-in last weekend, at least here. And so I was like, yeah, screw it. I'll go check it out anyway. Um, so yeah, but I will say I did like the second one better than the first. Chuck P says they may be doing Smile 3 next. Well, based on the way the second one ends, yeah, that would make a lot of sense. I do have to say I really like the ending of Smile 2. Um, Sean says, "Thank you, Kathy. Just remember, we're all adults and are allowed to watch horror all year long." Yeah, Sean, I watch. Yeah, me too. And like I always like take like little breaks here and there, like November, December. Usually when I get into like I don't know why, but November, December is like when I always get into like I do my marathon of all the James Bond films. I'm a huge James Bond fan, so I'll watch all 25 films in a row. But then I'll sprinkle some horror in between. Um, yeah. How many Terrifying movies do you think we get? I'm thinking five, possibly at most. Yeah, I think that's even what the director said. I think he says possibly five if he can't fit everything he wants to do into part four. And I'd be glad if they stopped. Like they're fine for what they are. It's not a series I overly love, right? It's not going to be like a top horror franchise for me. I like them for what they are. Oh, I'm sorry. Kathy says haven't seen Terrify. They're extreme, so yeah, uh, yeah, they're extreme. There's some gross stuff in them. Sean says same here. Kathy says no. Kathy says we'll look for it, Seth. Checker says Silver Bowl is my favorite werewolf movie too. Why is that not on DVD? You talking about Werewolf the series? Because of rights issues. I believe it did have a brief run on DVD a few years back, but because of rights issues for certain music that plays in it, especially in the pilot episode, had to get pulled. Um, Surprisingly, they didn't do like what they do with like Supernatural on Netflix. So for the show Supernatural to be on Netflix, they had to take out the music that appeared originally in the show and replace it, which is crappy because they replace decent music with crappy music. But luckily, I own every single season of Supernatural on Blu-ray. Forest Hills. Scott Goldberg film says Day of the Dead is one of my movies that's a perfect Halloween watch, as well as Fright Night and The Funhouse. Well, thank you for joining us. The Forest Hills official page. Um, Day of the Dead is fantastic, absolutely. Uh, I'm taking it you're a Romero fan, based on the way that, based on the certain dedication at the end, and the way that this is cut. Your film is sort of like a kind of in the vein of Martin. But yeah, love Romero as well. Fright Night, my favorite vampire film, and the Funhouse is fun too. Sean says, "Son of Frankenstein is amazing." Yes, it is. Kathy with Chuck Hunter. Yep, absolutely. Jolene says, "I'm trying to watch movies I haven't seen yet. I watched Demons yesterday for the first time and watching Blackout now." Oh, that's awesome. I love Demons. Demons is so freaking good. Damn, I want to watch that again. And I hope you enjoy Blackout. Just keep your expectations low. And don't come after me if you don't like it. Julian says, "I feel like the whole and smile didn't make sense." In the first one, been watching Sons of Anarchy. That was my break. I even enjoy Ghost of Frankenstein, but it had the runtime of Sun. I probably wouldn't like it as much. Seth, what's your favorite Bond film? Okay. I also I also like Ghost of Frankenstein as well. I think the Frankenstein films are probably the most complete of the Universal monsters, hands down. As far as my favorite Bond film, so I have a little bit of a bias. Okay, so the very first, let me explain this real quick. The very first James Bond film I saw was Goldeneye. I saw that in the movie theater when it came out in what '96. I had no idea who James Bond was. I didn't know. I didn't see any movies prior. My parents took myself and my brother to go see it. Fell in love with it. I asked for the VHS of it for like the following Christmas, and my parents got me that. But another present later, I open up and it's the VHS of Goldfinger, and my dad said to me, "If you like, if you like Goldeneye, you need to see some of the other James Bond films." He recommended Goldfinger. Put in Goldfinger, watch it, freaking love it. So Goldfinger has been my favorite James Bond film for a very long time. That being said, I also love Casino Royale, the Daniel Craig one. Um, that's probably my second favorite. And surprisingly, the film that has grown on me the most over the years is Doctor No. Doctor No, I used to think was boring, but every time I watch it now, as I get older, I freaking love it. I love it for being like a detective story. For like yeah, I love it. Like the James Bond franchise is great. Like I love I love most of the Connery films. I love On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I love Roger Moore's run as Bond. Moore is his films are a little corny, but goddamn, I love them. Particularly The Spy Who Loved Me. That's my favorite uh, Moore film. Timothy Dalton kicked ass. He was like the edgy Bond before Daniel Craig. I love The Living Daylights and absolutely love License to Kill. License to Kill was like a product of its time, and the fact that it was like it felt more like '80s action films like Lethal Weapon and Die Hard, but with James Bond in it. Um, Pierce Brosnan, again, like Pierce Brosnan was the first Bond I saw technically, and I like 3 out of the 4 of those films. Um, Naturally, Die Another Day is my least favorite James Bond period. It's number 25. It's the bottom of my list. And then Daniel Craig, I loved Casino Royale. I didn't care for Quantum of Solace, although it's kind of growing on me here and there. I think Skyfall's good, but slightly overrated. Um, Spectre was not very good, and I liked probably the first half of No Time to Die, but the second half is where it really fell apart. So, in case you can tell, I love James Bond. Worse than Martyrs? I've never seen Martyrs, so I can't really tell you. But there's some extreme things in the Terrifier films. Yes. Thank you for the show tonight, man. Appreciate it. And what's the plan for next week? You know, not really a man with a plan, clearly. Um, I'm hoping next week Ray will be able to join me for Curse of the Werewolf. But I won't know until next Wednesday. I should have a backup plan in place. There was another new werewolf film that I rented tonight. I didn't watch it yet because I was like trying to prepare for the show. So I will get to it within the next couple of days. I think my rental's for 48 hours. But yeah, I have no idea. Best case scenario is going to be the Hammer film Curse of the Werewolf. Worst case scenario, I'm going to have to pull a topic out of my ass. And it's going to hurt. CT says Sean Connery was the best James Bond. I love Connery's performance as Bond, especially in the earlier films when it's like he totally sells it as like the spy character. Like I love moments, and if you're new to Bond and you expect action nonstop, the earlier films may not appeal to you, but I love the moments where like he's going around inspecting his room and leaving certain things in certain places, or you know, I love the scene from Doctor No where he is fully aware that the person meeting him at the airport in Jamaica is not who they claim to be, and yet he still gets in that car anyway. Like he calls his contacts, and he still gets in the car, and I love it. Yeah. Julian says yes, the first one. Kathy says Roger Moore is my favorite Bond. Roger Moore is great as Bond. I honestly I like every single actor who played Bond. I know George Lazenby is in his one performance, he's a little wooden. I feel like if he got at least a couple more films, I think he would have gotten better. I think his film was definitely the most emotionally impactful. But I liked all the Bonds. Like they all have their different strengths and weaknesses. I do think Connery is the best, but I love Roger Moore. I love Timothy Dalton. I love Pierce Brosnan. I like Daniel Craig. Um, but yeah, they each have their own strengths and weaknesses. Chuck Peters says, "Yep, the first one I saw in theaters was Goldeneye back in '95 when it first came out. Still love it. Yeah, Goldeneye is really good. It's a really good action film, and it's like the perfect gateway. At least it was to me, because again, I didn't know anything about it when it came out. It was such a fun film to see like on the big screen. The Forest Hills says Creepshow 2 holds a special place in my heart. Was 7 years old. My brother's babysitter let us watch it on VHS and fell in love with it. The opening sequence made me fall in love with Overcast Days. Yeah, Creepshow 2. That's a fun one. I liked what was it? It's probably everyone's favorite one from that, the raft. Like that's the most memorable sequence, I think. Um, it's actually, I would argue that the raft one is like it's more memorable than anything from even in the first Creep Show, in my opinion. But also, thank you for joining, and I hope I didn't. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for joining. I hope you stick around. Sean says Goldfinger is my favorite. Skyfall is second. Goldfinger's great. It's a lot of fun. Sean says I'm still waiting for you to do my idea. I know. I just gotta do some watching. I gotta watch some stuff. Um, but it will happen. Uh, you have been here every week, so obviously I gotta honor your request, and I do plan on it. Just stick with me, man. Thank you for Kathy says thank you for another amazing video, and I hope you get to the doctor. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And yes, I should get to the doctor soon. Um, this week is just I'm very hesitant about missing so much time from work because it affects my paycheck. Yeah. Uh, says love hearing about the film, good and bad. Glad you were entertained, good or bad. No one wants to be bored. Ha, subscribing. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, I do think Forest Hills was it was a I will say this, I was not bored. I was definitely not bored. Um so I'm glad that I watched it, and thank you for subscribing, and also perfect attitude to have, because you know t- you put out something creatively, you're gonna hear the good and the bad, and uh, it's always good when the people involved are like, you can handle it, you can take it, and so um, it's awesome. Sean says thank you for being here every week. You guys are awesome. So is Kathy. I agree. Going to look up some videos on YouTube. Yes, definitely do it. Thank you, Sean. Back at you. Oh, um, so look up the trailer for Werewolves 2024. Look up Werewolf the series and watch it again. Um, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm missing something. Thank you, Kathy. Enjoy your videos. Alrighty, well, thank you everyone who watched. Hope you were entertained. Um, it was fun talking to you guys. Like always, werewolves are fun subjects to talk about. Again, Operation Blood Hunt and um, the Forest Hills available to rent. Um, I think they're worth a watch. You're I'm not giving these high praise. They're not going to be top of the year movies, so don't go in expecting anything like that. Um, but I think they're worth a watch. So give them a shot, and who knows, you may really enjoy them. I think the Forest Hills is gonna have legs, and it's gonna find an audience. Operation Blood Hunt may also. Operation Blood Hunt is definitely the more turn your brain off and eat popcorn type of movie, whereas the Forest Hills, I think, is a little bit deeper, and it has it's more cerebral, um, and there's some good stuff in it. So definitely give them a chance, and I will be back next Wednesday for hopefully Curse of the Werewolf with Ray. If not, I'll just pull a topic out of my ass, and yeah. So have a good night, everyone. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, if you are watching on YouTube, subscribe, please. Give a thumbs up, leave a comment. If you want to be a dick, you can do the thumbs down, and also leave a comment. That's fine. If you're watching on Facebook, you can hit the thumbs up button, the heart emoji button, the laugh emoji button, the wow face button, the care emoji button, and leave a comment, and share, and uh, hope to see all of you next Wednesday for another fun episode of the Werewolf Wednesday show. I'm Seth, and my back is killing me. I'm an old man now. Good night.